What's up, everybody? Aaron the Dog and only Aaron the Dog here tonight for this breakdown on UFC Vegas 24. Thank you for joining me, first of all. Unfortunately, my normal co-host, Brian, had to step away for some obligations outside of the podcast, so everything's all good with him still, and he'll join us hopefully next week, but we'll see. Next week I'll be going down to Jacksonville for UFC 261, so definitely looking forward to that. But we are here to cover UFC 24 from Vegas, the final Apex show of the COVID era. Thank goodness for Fight Island and the Apex. They provided us with a ton of huge fights throughout this weird pandemic era. And they'll probably return there, I'm sure. But for now, using it as the main source ends next week with fans in front of the fighters. But for tonight, yeah, it's just me. And I will do my best. Solo shows are not my strong point. But then again, you know, we make do. There are plenty of fights on this card I'm very excited about and looking forward to. So thank you again for those who are joining me. And let's do it. We start out in the 135 division with a matchup between Tony Gravely coming in at 20-6 and Anthony Birchak 15-7. I will start with Anthony Birchak, 34 years old, fighting out of 10th Planet Jiu-Jitsu Tucson. Yeah. He's coming off a loss to Gustavo Lopez, where Gustavo Lopez kind of just schooled him till he choked him out 2 minutes into a round and made Gustavo Lopez really look like an absolute world beater. But yeah, I mean, overall, Anthony Birchak's UFC career been pretty disappointing both times. His notable wins coming over Delano Lopez, Joe Soto, and Adam Martinez. But other than that, not a whole lot there. And he has struggled particularly against strong wrestlers. And what does Tony Gravely do? He wrestles some more. His losses coming to Brett Johns, so no shame there. But I think that he should really just have his way in this fight, be able to dominate the ground game and land plenty of shots. I don't love the odds here. We get the odds, and Tony Gravely, one of the bigger favorites on the card. But we kind of talked about this. He's a minus 325 favorite, plus 265 to Anthony Birchak. The thing with Tony Gravely is that his matchup here with Birchak, there's just very little way I see Birchak winning a decision or being able to pull off the submission or, a KO. So you just kind of throw Gravely in with some of these other reliable picks on LFA, on Bellator. He definitely has underperformed here in the UFC. That's fair enough. Geraldo de Freitas, he had a split decision with. It's just that at some point, I think he shows up and has the performance that he's been kind of missing. And wrestling is what's gotten Birchak over and over and over and over again. And I just think it gets him here. I think, if anything, looking to bet Gravely on a inside the distance, I wouldn't mind to get a little better price than minus 300. I just think he's going to really dominate Birchak, who just doesn't belong in the UFC. So that fight's at 135 again. I got Gravely the favorite here. Next fight is also at bantamweight. This is a female bantamweight fight between Zara Farron, 0-2 in the UFC, 6-4 overall, taking on Josie Nunez, making her UFC debut here. She's basically a very, very short, like literally one of the shortest bantamweights I've ever seen. So she's just kind of like a little bit of a, kind of a little bit of a tree trunk of a woman, to be honest, but she's got some power, as you can see, with throws some good leg kicks, has several punch KOs, first round as well as second round. Zara Farron, not had a great showing so far against Felicia Spencer and Megan Anderson. Both times showing she had little to no ground game. And her stand-up was her stand-up's okay. She's coming down from 145 here to bantamweight, so she's going to be very, very large. In terms of her stature, 5'8" versus like literally 5'1" or 5'2", maybe 5 foot for Josie Nunez. And Farron, 34 years old, out of France. She's got a split with Sinead Kavanaugh, who's gotten some decent hype, but I don't know. This is a fight that someone's got to win, and I'm going to go with the newcomer, Josie Nunez. Very unconfident on that, but I just have seen what I've seen of Farron is nothing good. I'm not sure if Josie's going to be able to do things like get takedowns and exploit that ground game. If she does get a takedown, it's over for Farron. I don't think Farron has anything but boxing for the most part. So I'm going to go with the newcomer, Josie Nunez. Second favorite I'm going with in a row here, minus 125, though, versus a plus 105. But again, we don't know what we're getting here. It is a nice price, but it might be a trap. And it's like I would hate to lose a lot on my ticket because of Josie Nunez when I don't know much about her. Also, I'm not betting on Zara Farron at just plus 105. So it's a favorite or pass for me here. But yeah, we got those two fights out of the way. Those are two of the less appealing fights, I'd say, on this card. We come to the 155 division. I'm really excited about this fight, including the late replacement Dakota Bush versus Austin Hubbard. Austin Thud Hubbard, big fan of his as well. Dakota Bush, as you know, we've got the LFA breakdowns on this channel. Brandon and I did one for the LFA tomorrow, LFA 104. It's already here. LFA is my jam. I love it. Dakota Bush, LFA made, LFA raised. 7-fight LFA veteran, I believe, going 2-5 with the promotion. In his last fight, landed a really sweet head kick on a good wrestler in Austin Clem, who came in overweight as well. So that's to be noted. Typically, Dakota Bush goes in there, wrestles, grapples, and takes home that neck. And if wrestling and grappling sounds familiar for Austin Hubbard, it's because Austin Hubbard just seems to always attract grapplers. Even before this, Natan Levy, grappler, submission guy. And, I did actually have him over Natan Levy. But Joe Selecki, grappler, had a rough time, got backpacked and rear naked choked. Max Roshkov, grappler, short notice, and he ended up gassing, but did give him a good run in the first round at least. Marco Madsen, grappler, won, but Hubbard took the third round. Hubbard's always there, always got the gas tank. Kyle Propolic, not a grappler, and he beat him. And then Davi Ramos, grappler, lost to him. This is a really interesting fight. I think it's going to be very, very close. Dakota Bush being with LFA, I think, has gotten very used to staying ready, and most of his fights with LFA actually were short notice, about this amount of time, maybe a little more. So I do think Dakota Bush has been getting ready. Had a few setbacks against Jaleel Willis, as well as Bryce Logan, two guys who I rate very well and I think could hang in there in the UFC or with Hubbard as well. I think this is a really good, close fight. And I'm going to go with my LFA dog here. I'm gonna go with Dakota Bush. I really like how he matches up in this fight. I think physically he's stayed ready. I think mentally he's been preparing to get into this spot. And I think against a guy like Hubbard, Hubbard definitely has a stand-up advantage, and he's gotten better and better on the ground and gas-wise. But I got a feeling that Dakota ends up being able to get a rear naked choke here and take it home. So Dakota is my first dog. Plus 160 minus I'm seeing minus 185 for Austin Hubbard. So I think this is a great fight. I do got my LFA dog Dakota Bush for the upset at plus 165. Zach's saying he doesn't really like the last minute replacement too much, but I really like Hubbard, but he struggled against Selecki. Selecki's we've seen after last week with Miller. I know he didn't get the finish, but it was super impressive how good Selecki is on the ground. I rate Selecki much better than I do Dakota Bush, but Dakota Bush, like I just said, he's been really staying ready with last minute replacements, even in LFA. And I get that's not against a guy at the level of Austin Hubbard, but he's been there with high level guys. And I think that he's been really waiting for this opportunity. And maybe Hubbard does have a little bit of a confidence issue with his rear naked choke defense after getting it cracked there. So we'll see. We talk about chins a lot, and maybe there's like kind of a submission chin, if that makes sense at all. If I had someone here to tell me that doesn't, I would, but I know that doesn't make sense. We'll move on to the next fight here at middleweight. Stays standing Hubbard. Yeah, that's most Hubbard fights. Stays standing, I think Hubbard goes to the ground Bush. Hubbard might get a finish too. I think Hubbard's got real good hands and could be the first to finish Bush. So that'd be impressive. For Hubbard, props to both guys, though. I'm really looking forward to that one. I'm going to take a shot with the dog at plus 165. Next fight, Gerald GM3 Mearshart, longtime favorite of mine. It's been a rough couple fights. Taking out Bartosz Fabinski. So good news for Gerald right off the bat here. You're not getting KO'd in this one. If Gerald Mearshart gets KO'd by Bartosz Fabinski, he should become a full-time coach immediately because you don't get KO'd by Bartosz Fabinski. What you get by Bartosz Fabinski is what happened to Darren Stewart and many others. You get grounded and laid on and preyed on. And I hate to use that dated phrase, but that's just what Fabinski does in there when he has the fight go his way. It's rinse, repeat, takedowns. I think that Gerald Mearshart does have good wrestling and good grappling. I think from the bottom, he could get sweeps or he could snatch up some sort of submission. We've seen that Bartosz Fabinski has a propensity to be submitted. However, it's most of the time by Brazilians. In fact, all of the time by Brazilians. Michel Prazeres and Andre Muniz in his last fight by armbar. Marcin Bandel back in the day, he got heel hooked by, and that was a Polish guy. So there we go. Bartosz has a Eastern European brother to rely on there. So I just think that Gerald Mearshart has the much better stand-up, but that doesn't say too much. I do think that Mearshart may look to be a little too comfortable from his back if it gets there, but I'm not sure that Fabinski's able to get it there. Mearshart's 33, Fabinski 34, so very similar stages. This is a tough one, and it's not one of my more confident picks just because I have a hard time really visualizing how this goes. I'm going to take Mearshart to be able to avoid the takedowns and use some of his underappreciated, I'll say, stand-up game. And he doesn't have a real worry of being damaged or rocked himself in the stand-up. So I think that should allow him a little more confidence on the feet and perhaps even get some takedowns of his own. But I got Mearshart here. He is the slight underdog, and I got Mearshart by decision. I think this is going to be a close decision either way. I'm not betting this one either. Plus 110 for Mearshart, minus 130, slight favor for Bartosz Fabinski. Yeah, it's just a close one. Odds say so, and I'd rather spend my money elsewhere on a card like this. So gonna move on now. We're just cruising along when it's a literally one-sided conversation. But hopefully, I'm still able to provide a little bit of information, a little bit of my own insights here. Obviously, I do prefer having a partner or co-host to do this with. So in the future, I'll try to plan this out a little better because I know it's not as enjoyable, but we do what we can. This next fight, I know I will be enjoying, and I know the fighter I am picking, she fully enjoys it, and that is Lupita Godinez, Lupe, as she's known, taking on Jessica Penne, the longtime veteran who hasn't fought in 3.5 years because of USADA issues and all other issues. Lupe Godinez, I've had the pleasure of being able to speak with on multiple occasions. 27-year-old Vancouver 10th Planet member, also has been training out at Team Elevation in Denver for a little bit here. 5-0. Her last fight was an absolute classic, which I highly recommend anybody looks up, from none other than LFA, and it was between her and Vanessa Demopoulos. Vanessa Demopoulos also is, I believe, signed to UFC now, or going to be signed to UFC. They went to absolute war for 5 rounds. Lupe definitely won the fight, had a 10-8 second round, in my opinion, that wasn't scored, but ended up winning a 5-round decision over Vanessa Demopoulos, getting out of some really impressive submissions that Vanessa's been able to get a lot of other girls with, and her just everything Lupe does is really, really impressive. She had a long amateur career where she had a lot of mistakes and made her mistakes amateur, and then by the time she went pro, she looked ready-made. She's able to really piece together 3- and 5-round performances, mixes up the takedowns, has good submissions, good boxing, good ground and pound. If it's not clear at this point, I very much favor her in this matchup versus Jessica Penne. Jessica Penne, 38 years old now, former atomweight back in Invicta, on a 3-fight losing streak before she had a suspension, and hasn't fought since April of 2017. She was scheduled to take on Hannah Goldie. I think that was going to be a very close fight. I don't think this fight's particularly close. I don't know where Jessica is going to be able to really win this fight on the feet. Lupe has such an advantage, and also on the ground, I feel that it's even or going to be in Lupita's favor. I really am looking forward to seeing how she does in here, but I think that it's Lupe all day. I'd love to see a finish, but either way, I like Lupe. I know that I was very surprised at how the odds have shifted. I know they opened at about plus 180 or minus 180 for Lupe. They've shot up to minus 300 now for Lupita. I love it. I'm going to, have to put her in some parlays. She is definitely a parlay piece that is going to be in most of my parlays. And yeah, can't wait to see you in there. And I can't wait to talk to you soon, Lupe. So we're all rooting for you here over at Coffee and KOs. And definitely Aaron the dog is in your corner completely, even though you're not a dog. And who knows when you will be that dog. But really looking forward to it. She's ready to do this. She's been staying ready. Yeah, I'm very, very much looking forward to her in there. I can't wait. And this takes us to this is really a very exciting section of the card for me. This is a heavyweight fight. It's one of the 2 heavyweight fights on the card. Both of them are exciting for different reasons. Alexander Romanov taking on Juan Espino. And earlier in the week, I made the mistake, as someone who does study tape before making a lot of lot of my picks of getting on IG with live with Zach and saying Alexander Romanov at -130 is crazy. You should bet your house on it. There's no doubt about it. But like, I really touted it as there's just no chance that Juan Espino does anything. And I'm telling you, the closer I get to this fight, the more I've looked into both sides of it, the more I've thought about it, the more I've started to inch towards Juan Espino in this fight. Juan Espino, 40 years old, but only 10-1. Heavyweights at 40 is not like these other divisions. He still has really good movement. Obviously, his submission game is world class and nearly ageless. And overall, keeps himself at a lighter weight, so he's got a good amount of speed and movement advantage on a lot of his opponents. Underrated stand-up, I would say, although he doesn't have to use it often because when it gets to the ground, it gets done real quick. And so, yeah, I just 6'3", 80-inch reach, really good size. Alexander Romanov, the Moldovan, 6'2", 75-inch reach. So 5-inch reach disadvantage in this fight where Juan Espino, I think, these guys could really cancel each other out in terms of the grappling. If Romanov is not able to blast a double and get on top here, he got caught quite a bit against Marcus de Lima, Marcus Rogerio de Lima before taking him down and choking him with his forearm. He's not going to be able to choke Juan Espino in such fashion. But I do think he can wrestle and, kind of pound him out and win a decision in that way, or possibly even KO him. But I think that Juan Espino might be playing spoiler here. Closer and closer I get, the more and more I'm not so sure on either side, and thinking that it's going to turn into a stand-up battle. Juan Espino is miles ahead of Romanov. Romanov's stand-up is not good. It's very much if I'm the hammer, I can nail you, but when I have to deal with being the nail, when I have to deal with some adversity, I'm just not so sure. He also has a KO loss in his lone amateur fight. Yes, Espino also has a loss in his one loss as a professional. That was to Valentin Moldavsky, who's a very good fighter. It was in 9 seconds. It's just you get caught, you get caught. You know what? I'm going to do it. I can't believe it, but I'm going to go with the American top team representative, Juan Espino, to pull the upset on the hype train that I've been a huge part of in Alexander Romanov. I just think that if this is stand-up, Alexander Romanov's stand-up is very rough when it's not kind of chest-to-chest, face-to-face. Juan Espino has slick, obviously very slick jiu-jitsu. He can catch, I think, anybody. If it goes to the ground, and for two, on the feet, I think his stand-up is much better than Alexander Romanov's. I think movement-wise, I think speed-wise, cardio-wise. Definitely before I'm putting a bet in, I got to see the weigh-ins because I got to see the condition of both these guys. But you know what? This is why we do tape study. This is why we really look into the fights. I got Juan Espino, and he's a +115 underdog, which at the beginning of the week I said was ridiculous, and now I'm wishing other people felt that way. The money has stayed kind of consistent here. Romanov -135 slight favorite. So I got another dog in Juan Espino here. And I want to see the weigh-ins. I want to see the condition of the 40-year-old Espino, who's been off for a little while. Also, Juan Espino's only beaten Jeff Hughes and Justin Frazier in the UFC. So, again, few unknowns and a few assumptions I'm making, but I'm going to take a shot there on that dog. And this brings us to the prelim or the featured prelim, I should say. It's between Tracy Cortez, making her flyweight debut, taking on Justine Kish. Justine Kish, we all know for various reasons, from The Ultimate Fighter to her, particularly her loss with Felice Herrig, brings a lot of people's attention, I should say. coming off a rough one against Sabina Mazo where she kept getting head kicked and then eventually got rear naked choked by Sabina Mazo, which not all that impressive, to be honest with you. And Sabina Mazo just lost to Alexis Davis. We've seen a little bit with Sabina Mazo. But Tracy Cortez, 5'5", was fighting at 135, beat Vanessa Mello, beat Stephanie Egger. Stephanie Egger, pretty large judo grappler who, she ended up, really out-grappling Tracy really out-grappled her in that matchup and, it didn't look outsized or anything, but then she's taken about 6 months off to get down to 125. She's been working really hard at getting down to that weight. And that is kind of one of my curiosities here is how she looks at 125. And, I'm not exactly sure why she made the move, but she must have felt something up at that weight class before then to, do that. So with Justine Kish, she's just kind of had a lot of injuries, a lot of damage, and a lot of wars. And I think her best days are very much behind her. Tracy Cortez is one of the up-and-comers. If she can make that cut cleanly, which it appears she's really been prepping for it, then I think she should have no problems here and most likely gets a finish by submission. So I'll take Tracy Cortez, second round submission. She's going to be able to wrestle and control Kish, I would think, and should have a good strength advantage at 125 as long as, again, she makes the cut well. If she doesn't beat Justine Kish for whatever reason, she knows 125 is not her division right away. So Tracy Cortez is a minus 275 favorite. We're getting to that number. It's plus 235 on Justine Kish. According to my rule, I do put a little bit of money on Justine Kish at this price. I honestly want to see the weigh-ins, but it's going to be hard for me to put money on Tracy at that price in her flyweight debut against a veteran who makes fights a lot closer than they need to be. And maybe this is one of those times she gets on the right end of it. So my official pick is Tracy Cortez, but might be having to bet on the dog at the price it's at. So we'll see. Again, flyweight debut, a lot of unknowns for Tracy. But that brings us to the main card. And the main card kicks off with another one of my, I would say, good friends I've been able to make in this field, and that is Luis Pena, Violent Bob Ross. He's joined me on some of these breakdowns before. I've gotten to talk to him quite a bit. 8-3. He's taking on Alex Munoz out of Team Alpha Male. 6-1. 6-1, coming off a loss to Nazareth Hack Perez. Nazareth Hack Perez was able to, after the first takedown, really stuff the takedowns, and Munoz really just kind of appears to just be a wrestler, and when he can't get the wrestling going, he's got throws a few single shots, has a decent left, but overall, I think that Pena has a huge advantage when it comes to the feet, and will obviously have the reach advantage as he does against most guys in this division. The question with Luis is really the killer instinct. Overall, I think that we have, kind of failed to see it completely in the UFC so far. The Matt Weinman was not a case of that, but besides that, we've kind of failed to see it. He does have a couple wins over guys like Steven Peterson, Steve Garcia, Alex Munoz. I would put about in that realm, and I do think that Pena has better wrestling than a lot of people realize. So I will say that I'm going to give this one to Luis Pena. And I think that he probably just, is able to keep it on the feet, keep him at a distance, jab him, maybe be able to time up a knee as Munoz tries to enter on a shot later in the later rounds. That's what I'd love to see as a KO. I'd love to see it, and I think it could come in the later rounds. So I'm going to take Luis Pena to get a knee finish KO round 3 after Munoz kind of shoots for a shot later as he's a little more tired. I just think Munoz is an okay guy. I do think Luis has a potential to still be very special. They have him on the main card here. I think it's a great opportunity for him to solidify why. And yeah, I like him to get a finish in the later rounds. So round 3 KO for Luis Violent Bob Ross Pena. And he is the favorite, minus 150, plus 120 on Alex Munoz. I know that Pena's weight cuts go well, and he does tend to not use his frame in fights. He likes to kind of keep it close. I could see him initiating a takedown on Munoz also as he gets more tired. And if Luis gets a takedown and lands on top of Munoz, I think that's where he'll stay for that round, and that will definitely be pretty disheartening for Munoz. And yeah, just not sure. Munoz has beat a few decent guys, Nick Newell, Joe Lamson, but I just think Luis Pena finally starts to show some of that potential he's had since back in Tough. So he's at American Top Team. He's been living in the dorms, super focused. Had a couple fights called off. Had a fight with Jakar Close that got pulled last second, and now Jakar Close is fighting on the co-main event. I think there's a lot of motivation here for Pena. Pena wants these big fights against guys like Jeremy Stevens and others, and so yeah, I like Pena here, and I like him to get a finish to really make a statement to the rest of the division and the UFC. So all the best to you, Mr. Violent Bob Ross. Can't wait to see you work. Next fight coming at 185. Luckily, I don't hope to not have a co-host for too many weeks, and I'm still, working on making this solo show as enjoyable and informative as I can. But a lot of these fights are very simple to break down. And this one, Abdul Razak Al Hassan, moving up to 185, first of all. So somehow he was making 170, still an enormous 185er, and now is 15 pounds, 16 pounds potentially less to cut for fights. At this point, Al Hassan has hit a little bit of a rough stretch with 2 straight losses to Mazik Lazez by decision, and then he got KO'd in 30 seconds by Chaos Williams. And now he's moved up to 185. He's got a really nice first 185 fight, though, if I'm being honest, in Jacob Malkoun, who is 4-1, known as Robert Whittaker's training partner, also known as the guy who Phil Hawes starched in 18 seconds. And I just think that the layman in me thinks that look what you did to Nico Price, look what you did to Sabah Hamasi, look what you did to Sabah Hamasi. I think he does the same thing to Jacob Malkoun. First round KO for Al Hassan. Al Hassan is 35 years old, so I think he's getting towards the end, but I still think he has time to be somebody in the 185 division. And Jacob Malkoun, he could eventually be in the UFC. I just think at 4-0 it was too soon, and I get he had trouble getting opponents or whatever, but the opponents so far after these two, in my opinion, are going to be enough to let us know that he's not quite ready for this yet. And he may train with Robert Whittaker, but he's not Robert Whittaker. And I don't think anybody would disagree with that. So I'll just leave it at that. Razak Al Hassan, first round KO. Yeah, simple as that. Next fight is the other heavyweight fight. It's between Andrei Arlovsky, the legend, I believe 38th UFC fight coming up here, a UFC record, taking on Chase the Vanilla Gorilla Sherman, 15-6. Andrei's been doing it for so long. Was on a 2-fight win streak against Philippe Lins and Tanner Boser, where he just kind of put together the right game plan, blitzed when he needed to, avoided allowing his opponents to get comfortable. Then he did have a good first round against Tom Aspinall, not amazing. And then he got doubled and then choked out by Aspinall very quickly once it got there. So that put a halt to that. For the most part, Andrei Arlovski, when he loses, has shown some toughness in the UFC. As a decision loss against Tabora, which he took some good shots. Decision loss to Tai Tuivasa. Decision loss to Shamil Abdurakhimov. Decision loss to Augustus Sakai on a split decision. Rosenstruck did catch him early on in that one and put him away. But, Rosenstruck and Ngannou. Hello.
Yo, man.
What's up?
I felt bad that you were going by yourself, so I figured I'd hop in here for a couple minutes.
Oh, yeah, was it that bad?
No. You're doing a fine job. I just,
Yeah, well, I mean, 35 minutes, we'd usually be on fight number 2 or 3 if I was with Brian. So it's going to be an early night for me. But how you doing?
I'm just sitting in here. My son's watching the classic American film Country Bears, and I got my bad hairline going, laying in bed,
It's okay. It only gets worse from here. But that's why. But yeah, I just was getting into the Andrei Arlovski Sherman fight. But if there's any fights earlier on the card that you wanted to brush on, I'm happy to go over those. Otherwise,
I'm just all in on Luis Pena. And I think he's going to get a finish. I don't know how he'll get it done because I think that he's pretty well-rounded. So you could see a sub. You could see a TKO.
I was really envisioning a knee KO in the third round after Munoz kind of gets desperate on a shot after getting tired.
I really like the fact that, VBR obviously was talking with you, and I love the fact that he was imitating McGregor. He's a very crafty fighter in general. So I'm all in on him. Some sort of finish. I don't think it goes the distance.
Yeah, he's been prepping with Dustin and many others at American Top Team, and I think a finish, because he's had so many decisions, would be definitely something worth putting a little bit of money on. I think it should be good value. So Munoz, I'm just not sure about him. But yeah, besides that, Lupi Godinez, obviously a favorite of mine, and unfortunately a favorite of the bettors. The secret's out on Lupi. I was hoping at 5-0 people would be like, I'm not sure, but everybody seems to know. And I also like Tony Gravely. So I do like a lot of the very large favorites. I think they're large favorites for a reason.
I'm staying away from Gravely.
Okay, well, you're going to be sorry. I mean, it's like going to be a 30-25 type of win, I think, to be honest.
I like Gravely. Like, I like what he did in the Contender Series, but as I put in the chat earlier, I'm just, for some reason, I just can't get behind. I can't get on the Gravely train yet. I feel like he's kind of underperformed so far in the UFC, but his wrestling is really good.
Yeah, and eventually you see these guys who don't quite have their legs in the UFC for 1 or 2 fights eventually, kind of pull back into it. So we'll see. But getting to what's going on, Bunny? How you doing tonight? Good luck with the Lakers later. And we're getting to the heavyweight fight here between Andrei Arlovski and Chase Sherman. I was talking about Arlovski before you joined on here, and just 38 UFC fights, UFC record. He has this false kind. Well, he has been knocked out quite a few times as a heavyweight, but a lot of heavyweights are knocked out. Most of his losses in the UFC lately have come by decision. 4 of his last 5 have been decision or split decision, and then he got knocked out by Rosenstruck. Chase Sherman. He's kind of been all over the place, had some bare knuckle fighting experience, where, he had some mixed results there. But when he came back against Ike Villanueva, he looked really, really good. And I know Ike Villanueva is not anywhere close to Arlovski, but, I mean, there is a certain point where I just wonder when it's time for Arlovski to hang it up, when he can when he's not going to be able to take fights on such short notice and everything like that. And I would think that Chase Sherman is a guy that if it was Arlovsky of a few years ago, no problem. I'm just not sure at this point, man. The way he quit against Tom Aspinall and that choke was something more than being hurt and giving up. It was just like, I'm done. I'm all set. Like, I'm not sure he's taking these fights as serious as he needs to be as he's going. And I think Chase Sherman, this is the biggest fight and opportunity of Chase Sherman's entire life. He's only 31 years old, and he's very, very athletic, very quick, has legit power as a heavyweight. I hate to say it, I'm going to take Chase Sherman to end the career of Andre Arlovsky and KO him.
Yeah, so Chase Sherman, I'm not a fan of at all, but Andre Arlovsky, man, how the fuck is he still getting fights? This man, he beat Tanner Boser, but Tanner Boser put on just one of the most snoozer performances that you could ever imagine. Had he thrown any volume at Arlovsky, I think he wins the fight. He just didn't do anything the entire fight, which ended up, Arlovsky squeaked out a win there, which is fine. I mean, at 40-some years old, whatever, to get a win, that's cool. But Arlovsky cleared almost $400K his last fight, and the UFC has cut in that time JDS and Overeem, which obviously they're making more, but still, that's a lot of money for a guy who's 43 and hasn't been really relevant. I mean, he's not contending for anything, especially in a division that's on the rise. Not a huge fan of Chase Sherman. I think against most heavyweights, I'm going against him. In this situation, I actually chose Chase Sherman. I actually chose finish. I know that Arlovsky has gone to decision a lot. 43 years old, it's hard to rely on the chin at this point. And like you said, the submission of Aspinall, I think Aspinall's Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is better than Sherman, but I could either see Sherman knocking him out with a flurry of punches, like ground and pound, or I could see maybe Chase Sherman sinks up a freaking sub after hurting Arlovsky. Who knows? There's just no way that I can choose Andre Arlovsky in this fight. I would love to see it though. I'll be honest with you. Like, I would love to see Andre Arlovsky come out, knock Chase Sherman out, and then just say, "Okay, I'm out." Like, that's my last performance. That would be awesome for a guy that's been around forever. But I'm having a really hard time seeing that happen.
Yeah, I agree. I'm pretty surprised that Sherman's the underdog here. It's slight underdog. He's an even money, so the money I think continues to come in for Sherman as the fight's getting closer here. Definitely want to see the weigh-ins, make sure Sherman is in good shape, not coming at 260, but that 250, 245 range. That's what I want to see for Sherman because that's when he's at his best. Throws leg kicks, throws good movement. So yeah, I got the slight dog in Sherman, so I'll take it, and I'll increase it by going with the finish because I do think he gets the KO. Submission would blow my fucking mind.
What's the line for finish for Sherman? I know it's even money.
I don't have that up with me right now just because I'm going between but I mean, I know that it's probably plus 270, I would say, or so.
Yeah, I think I'm going to throw some money. I'm not going to bet too much this weekend, but I think Chase Sherman's just one of those, you get that gut feeling every card, and there's just something about that I just feel like it's going to
I definitely have a few parlays that I'm combining with stuff from LFA, Bellator, and UFC, my most confident ones, so that I can put things like Gravelly and these minus 300s in and still be able to feel okay about it and get some value. So, we're to the co-main event already. Seems like you just got here, right? But yeah, co-main event, Jakar Close, Jeremy Stephens. This is a interesting fight.
Fuck, I guess. Jeremy Stephens.
Well, then you're not gonna like me very much because I don't think Jakar Close. I don't see Jakar Close's exact route to victory in this fight. I haven't been exactly impressed by Jakar Close.
I feel like it's battle of the chins in this fight, to be honest with you. And we saw Jakar Close's chin against Beneil Dariush.
Right. Well, I think Close I think Close and Stephens have good enough chins that they're probably just going to make this a pretty close decision. That's what it feels like to me. And I don't know about you, but I'm not here for Jeremy Stephens' decisions. I just am not. Like, they're not exciting when they happen. The last decision that he won was against Gilbert Melendez, and it was awful. It was an awful decision. So, yeah, I mean, I'm going to go with Jeremy Stevens just because I think that the volume he's going to be able to put up at lightweight will be higher and better, and Close doesn't have this amazing wrestling game that he's going to be able to take down Stevens. Stevens has pretty underrated takedown defense, in my opinion. So it turns into a stand-up game, and Close, coming off of shoulder surgery after his knockout, I'm not exactly sure how he's going to look. I'll just take Stevens to break his 4-fight losing streak. Although the 4-fight losing streak is the Jose Aldo, Zabit Magomed-Sharipov, remember that guy? Yair Rodriguez, remember that guy? Calvin Kattar. So, all good guys, but I'll take Jeremy Stevens to break the schneid, taking a massive step down competition to take on Drakkar Klose.
Yeah, this is a tough one. I don't really hate Jeremy Stevens. I just, at this point, his record is really shitty. But he has fought some really good competition.
Yeah, it's top tier.
So you can't hate on it too much. He did go on a run there for a bit, which I was all on the Jeremy Stevens hype train when he went on a run where people thought he was going to be a legit contender.
Dooho Choi and Josh Emmett, those are big wins.
And Drakkar Klose, the toughest competition I really remember is Beneil Dariush, which he did rock Beneil Dariush, gassed out super quick after trying to finish him and then got finished. I think if you're going betting wise or you're going to parlay or whatever, I think that you have to go Jeremy Stevens. I know in our show, actually I wasn't on our show this week, but in my picks that I sent Steve, I actually took Drakkar Klose. But I think the smart choice would be Jeremy Stevens based on the body of work. However, Stevens' chin has been a little questionable over the last couple fights. And, Drakkar Klose has some power. I think Stevens gets it done.
He hasn't shown it in the UFC.
Yeah, that's true. But he did, like I said, he did rock Dariush, but Dariush does get rocked a lot, and then he somehow survives. So
right.
He's like Glover Teixeira. But
very true.
I think that you have to go Stevens if you're going to be smart. Go Stevens, the veteran, better fight, better competition he's fought, super veteran. And I don't know, it's just something about the Drakkar Klose, Courtney Casey duo that just doesn't seem to be winning.
Yeah, you brought it up, but yeah, they on Instagram a lot, you'll see Courtney making food for them and Drakkar laying in his underwear on the couch. And I just think they both have gotten a little too comfortable raising their kid and just kind of going to that life. And I'm not sure.
We'll Mike see. Perry lifestyle, too comfortable?
A little too comfortable with the family. These family people, although, one of our main event guys, Robert Whittaker, uses that as kind of the total opposite. But yeah, Drakkar Klose is he is the plus 100 underdog. So Stevens only a minus 120. I love that price.
I think it's going to be closer than what people think, but
I'd say it's close too.
Yeah, but at the same time, who knows? We haven't seen Jeremy Stevens in a while, and also, like you said, is Drakkar Klose? What is he doing? We don't really know. I think that this is going to be the test. I think if either one of these guys loses in really bad fashion, they could be gone from the UFC.
Yeah, I agree. I think there's a few cases of that. I definitely think this is one of them. We get to the main event now, 185. Big fight, 5 rounds, obviously main event. Kelvin Gastelum taking on Robert Whittaker. Kelvin Gastelum coming off of decent performance, decent win, pretty good. I worked Ian Heinisch, but it's Ian Heinisch, and now he's back up into the guys who he was losing to before, like the Adesanyas, the Tills, the Hermansons. He's fighting Robert Whittaker. Robert Whittaker looked outstanding in his last 2 fights, particularly look good against Jared Cannonier after adjusting to some of those leg kicks early on. So I just think that with and then the Darren Till fight took a really good shot against Darren Till and then dominated from there on out. So I think there was some questions about Whittaker's kind of overall of chin and damage he'd taken, but I think he's answered most of those. Still is only 30 years old, which is incredible. He's had an incredible UFC career. And I think that this is a fight I'm very confident in that he looks great in. I think that he matches up excellently with another former welterweight in Kelvin Gastelum. And I think that leg kicks are going to be a big part of the game for Whittaker. I think his stand-up is so smooth, so much better than Gastelum's. I don't think Gastelum looks or is able to take him down. And I think Whittaker, by the third round, has him bloodied and puts him away. So third round TKO, Robert Whittaker. But I love Whittaker in this fight. This is like, this feels to me like last week with Vettori, where it is pure matchup skill in one guy's direction. And it is for Whittaker. We had a run at the beginning of the year, 4 or 5 events. The main event was won by an underdog. And now we're kind of getting to the point where the favorites are winning again. Ngannou won last week. Obviously, Vettori won. And this week, we're back to a favorite in Robert Whittaker. Third round TKO.
Yeah, I don't think there's really any question in this one. I think that, one, people took way too much stock in the way Robert Whittaker looked against Izzy in that fight. You have to realize he came back super quick, and since that fight, he's really like gained everything back. He really looks really, really good, and utilizing the wrestling again, which he didn't do for a while. Then you also have to, with Kelvin Gastelum, what Kelvin Gastelum are we getting? Are we getting the guy that fought Izzy, the dog, the guy that's all in, or are we getting the out of shape Kelvin Gastelum that, you don't know what the fuck is going on? Like, that's kind of my thing with Kelvin Gastelum. I like Kelvin Gastelum. I enjoy watching him fight, but he's one of those fighters you just don't know what the hell you're going to get. And with Robert Whittaker, you know exactly what you're going to get. It hasn't changed. He's one of my favorite fighters to watch. One of the coolest dudes in the UFC. It almost sucks because he's almost too nice. Like, I feel like these really nice guys are really hard to market. Like, I love Robert Whittaker. Him and Wonderboy, like they're like the most unhateable guys in the UFC. But at the end of the day, I think Robert Whittaker, I don't know if he'll finish Gastelum. It depends. That's the only question I have. If we get the out of shape Kelvin Gastelum, Robert Whittaker is going to finish him easy, either by wrestling, the leg kicks, like you said, on top of the striking. Like, he'll just eventually batter him to the point where it'll be a ref stoppage. I don't think we'll see Kelvin get knocked out cold or anything like that. But I think that Whittaker could wear on him. Or we could get the Gastelum that fought Izzy and, can hold his own and make it a good fight. I just don't know if I see that happening. I'm gonna go Whittaker by decision because I'm hoping that it's a good fight. Like, I'm hoping that Gastelum goes balls to the wall, like he's got nothing to lose at this point, and puts on a great performance. So I'm going decision because that's what I'm hoping for. But if Gastelum comes in, dumpy and not in good shape, I think Whittaker puts an end to him by third or fourth round, by probably ref stoppage unless Herb Dean's in there.
Yeah, I just think it's so interesting how uninterested Izzy is in this potential rematch for Robert Whittaker. I just think that is very telling. The
blueprint is there to beat Izzy, and Robert Whittaker has that wrestling. He has the wrestling too. The only thing that I think would be a little bit tough for Whittaker is he's going to be at a little bit of a size disadvantage based on the height, at least. So it may be a little harder to keep Izzy down. But I think Izzy knows a Robert Whittaker on a fight win streak that is hitting his stride now after coming back from an injury poses a threat. And I think that's the one thing with Marvin Vettori too, the wrestling. We saw the blueprint. If they can get Izzy down, he's not getting back up. In the middle of the octagon. If he's towards the cage, he'll get up. But if he's in the middle of the octagon, he's not getting back up. And that's what I think kind of worries him. I'm not going to say he's scared, but worries him about guys like Vettori and Robert Whittaker.
This is why he's trying everything he can to fight Darren Till in his next fight. Like he just wants
because
to fight
Darren
someone.
Till is a broke Izzy.
Yeah, he just wants to fight someone who he can just chill on the feet and not even have to worry about that. Like but for this one, I just don't see much. I just don't see much of an argument for the dog, other than that it's MMA and anybody can be caught or blah 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 blah. But Whittaker's run in the UFC is the most underappreciated run, of anybody in the UFC.
He's one of the most underrated champions ever in the UFC.
Yeah, he is my favorite fighter. I try not to have a lot of favorites, but he really is my favorite fighter. Just how he fights, how well-rounded he is. I think he has the potential to be the Stipe of the middleweight division if he can get that title back, because I do think he can make multiple title defenses as well.
And what makes him so awesome is if he goes and beats Izzy, he'll give Izzy a rematch 20 times.
Away.
He doesn't give a shit. Like, he'll fight Izzy 20 times. He doesn't care.
Right. He'll fight a woman. Equality. It's just like there's not many like Robert Whittaker. And if you are a person who is having a question this Saturday of, do I watch Jake Paul or Robert Whittaker? We're not friends. I don't know who you are, and we don't see MMA or.
You got to double screen it because you got to double screen.
Go ahead and steal it on a fucking other screen, but please
don't pay for it.
Please don't pay for it. Please don't watch it on your main television. The main television is for Robert Whittaker this weekend.
Who do you think wins, Jake Paul or Ben Askren?
I literally kept calling him Logan Paul. So I do not care, man. Like, I did not know it was Jake Paul. I didn't want to even know. And someone was like, oh, it's Jake Paul. I was like, I told you I didn't want to know that.
You don't want him to just lose so this whole thing can just be over
I want to know how Frank Mir does against Antonio Tarver.
Yeah, that's going to be interesting.
It's going to be crazy. Now, I'll watch that. I'll watch all the lead up. I don't want to see Bad Bunny. I don't want to see fucking.
Wait, Bad Bunny's fighting?
He's like performing. No, he's not fighting. Yeah, they're just like Justin Bieber is going to be there. I don't care about any of that. By the way, Robert Whittaker minus 250. I love that as a parlay piece. It's hard to choose. If you want the finish or the decision, the finish will be a little juicier. But it's going to be a tough one. I know that Kelvin Gastelum's tough to finish. But overall, my dog, I'll just go through my picks, and you can kind of give me your picks as we go back through top to bottom here, and then we'll just sign off. Tony Gravely and Burchek. I have Gravely all day.
I'll go Gravely just because I don't know shit about the other guy.
Anthony Burchek has been in the UFC for like 20 years.
Dude, listen, like I've been watching UFC for many, many years, but I have an awful memory. Like my memory
he's
is
one
garbage.
of these guys. If you have a bad memory, you're not going to remember it.
Exactly.
That's Anthony Burchek.
So I'll go Gravely. Like I said, I'm trying to get on the Gravely hype train. So hopefully.
This is the fight that's going to get it, because I think he's going to just the matchup wise, he really should look good. I'm curious your pick on this one: Zarin Ferran and Josie Nunez.
No idea who the fuck either one of them are. I'm gonna go Josie Nunez based on Amanda Nunes because I don't even.
Okay. Well, Ferran got triangle choked by Megan Anderson.
Okay.
So that should let you know how good she is. And then she got ground and pounded by Felicia Spencer. Now it's her first fight at 135. I also have Josie Nunez. So we agreed 2 for 2. Austin Hubbard, Dakota Bush.
I gotta go Austin Hubbard here. I really like Hubbard a lot. I'm gonna try to forget about the Selecki performance because Selecki is that damn good and he's a friend of our show. But yeah, I really like Austin Hubbard, man. The dude can box the hell out of it. So I'm hoping that he can keep it standing and he puts on a boxing clinic.
I mean, all Hubbard has gotten in his entire UFC career is power grapplers, and Dakota is another power grappler, not better than a lot of the guys he's beat. So I have Bush, but I got to see the weigh-ins. I got to see the condition. Bush has fought on short notice a lot.
I am surprised that Hubbard is the fit. Didn't Hubbard just take this fight on short notice too?
No,
Okay.
Hubbard was fighting Natan Levy, and then Natan Levy had to. And Natan Levy is essentially the same type of guy as Dakota Bush. So I don't think the game plan had to massively shift for their camp. Gerald Mearshart or Bartosz Fabinski? You have to choose someone.
Man, I have a hard time getting on Gerald Mearshart's hype train, man.
Oh,
I really do. Exactly. I'm going the other guy. I think Mearshart's going to get KO'd again.
Bartosz Fabinski has 0 KOs in his.
This is going to be the first one.
That's oh my god! I got Mearshart here by decision.
I just still don't understand how when people beat Gerald Mearshart, it somehow propels them into like the top 10. Like that's like Hamzat beats Gerald
Kevin
Mearshart.
Holland lost to Gerald Mearshart, but won a split decision, and then that rocketed Kevin Holland to the moon.
Well, and then you had Hamzat Chimaev, was supposed to fight Leon Edwards after beating Gerald Mearshart.
Oh yeah, that's
doesn't make any goddamn sense.
And people were picking Hazamov too. Lupita Godinez versus Jessica Penne. I have Lupi.
I've actually just watched some highlights on Lupi. I'm going her all day. I think she's going to be a savage moving forward.
I can't wait. I think she is real potential in this division. This one's interesting. Juana Spino and Alexander Romanov. I know I told you earlier this week, Alexander Romanov at minus 130 was a steal. I don't know if you were listening to me earlier, but
I had you on, but I was in the shower.
Yeah.
What are the lines now?
So, well, first of all, it hasn't moved. Second of all,
wow.
I have switched over to Juana Spino.
Really?
Because I've actually looked into this one more and more, and Romanov's stand-up at the end of the day is god-awful. And Juana Spino, first of all, if it gets taken down, Juana Spino has ability off his back to get submissions. He's got really good arm bars. Armbar is how Romanov has lost before, not in MMA, but in a submission grappling. So what it comes down to, I know Espino is 40 years old, but he's only 11-1, and 40 years old at the heavyweight division is not really that old anyways. And it's more about damage and wear and tear. And I just think Romanov just kind of burrows into you and tries to overwhelm you with the physicality. And I think Espino training out of American Top Team, they're going to have a good game plan. He's been able to be in there with big grapplers. Marcus Rogério de Lima tagged up Romanov before he got taken down and choked out by a forearm. Espino's not getting choked out by a forearm as a legit black belt. I got Espino with the upset.
Well, it looks like you're trying to tell me to put some money on Espino this weekend. Just for fun, I'll go Romanov. The
line's there for Romanov still, honestly.
I could see it being a boring decision for Romanov. I don't know. He won't get the sub, but maybe he wrestles and just tires the hell out of Espino at 40 years old. And I
just think they're both
such a boring decision.
Yeah, I think it's one of these grappler versus grappler where it turns into a stand-up affair. And if it's on stand-up, Espino is miles ahead of Romanov in the stand-up. And that's where I just think it could be a boring stand-up decision for Espino.
Listen, maybe I'll put some – I'm going to take Romanov, but I'll throw some money on Espino.
Yeah, we have not seen Romanov face that great of competition, and he hasn't really, And next one, Tracy Cortez, Justine Quiche. I have Tracy Cortez.
I can't take Quiche, man. She's shit in a cage. I'm going Tracy Cortez.
Fair enough. Alex Munoz, Luis Pena. We're both on Bob Ross here. It's one of our more confident picks, and we like to finish.
Oh, by the way, VBR was going off on Twitter today. I don't know if you
saw that. Yeah, I did. I certainly saw him.
He said, fuck Jake Paul.
Yeah, well, Jake Paul talking about gym shit, man.
Yeah.
Breaking the fighter code when he's not a fighter. Abdul Razak Al Hassan, Jake Malkoun. Are you taking Robert Whittaker's training partner?
No, I'm not. Malkoun looked like dog shit his last time out. I'm pretty sure he got knocked out really bad.
Yes.
Al Hassan also got knocked out really bad, but it was against Chaos Williams. I think I don't think Al Hassan is that good, to be honest with you, but I think he's got the power. I think that's gonna be the knockout of the night. I think he's gonna knock out Malkoun. Malkoun got brutally KO'd last time.
And they set him up with another power striker for his next fight. His sixth fight ever.
I think he's gonna get knocked out, and then I think he's gonna get cut from the UFC. You might see him on the
Yeah.
fired segment later on that night.
Yeah, and then we got the rest of them. We got Chase Sherman. We are on separate sides with Jakar Close for you and Jeremy Stevens for me, and then we're both on Robert Whittaker to end up, and that will do it. It is a 7 o'clock start on Saturday, so we got a late recap show Saturday night. Afterwards, Kieran, Josh, myself, and Zach.
Hell yeah.
Go ahead and check out. Yeah, go ahead and check out the LFA breakdown show that went up with Brandon from MMA Wages earlier today. Yesterday with Brandon from MMA Wages, we had the Bellator breakdown show as well. So yeah, anything else to plug right now?
We might have some news coming up here soon to let all you know. So stay tuned for that.
Interesting.
It's listen, we're making moves. This channel's been doing great, and anybody that listens and comments, good or bad comments, I'll take all the comments. It's great. We appreciate having everyone on. Aaron killing it every single week. So hopefully Pooh Bear back next week. You guys kill it.
He had to take care of some business, but it's all good. We always miss you, Pooh Bear. But for Zach, for Aaron the dog, keep taking care of each other out there, and let's make that money. Peace out. Thanks for joining me, Zach.